It's difficult to put into exact words what the significance of military service is for South Korean men. Me personally, I have this mixed feeling. I'm honored and proud that I have served my nation, but when I look back 25 years ago, I had to admit it was hard. By law, all able-bodied males in the country must serve in the armed forces for around 2 years after reaching adulthood. 2 years in the military could feel like a vacuum for many, especially when they are trying to further educate themselves and prepare for a future career. But don't get me wrong, most Korean men proudly answer the call of duty, knowing that some sacrifices are required to protect a divided nation that is technically still at war. But unfortunately, the welfare standards for our service members have left much to be desired. And the time spent in the uniform is often characterized by many hardships and suffering. The question over BTS and their service obligation has come under the global spotlight recently, as many of its members are nearly 30 years old and approaching the end of their deferment period. In today's program, we'll diving into the legal history and the controversy surrounding Korea's military exemption law for artists and athletes. BTS needs no introduction, a K-pop mega sensation that has taken the world by storm over the last few years. However, the more recent headlines surrounding BTS have focused on the question surrounding their military service obligations. This is a topic that is being discussed almost on a daily basis in the Korean media. Even BTS fans in other countries across the globe are wondering if their favorite band members will answer the call of duty or be granted an exemption. So why does BTS have to join the military in the first place? All able-bodied South Korean males must serve in the military, as stipulated by the law. It is a sacred obligation that is also enshrined in the country's constitution. South Korean men become draft eligible when they turn 18 and receive their physical examinations when they are 19 years old, the result of which determine the branch of service they will be assigned to. The length of active duty service has been reduced to 18 months in case of the Army branch, from what used to be 36 months. Anyone who has been assigned to active service received the same rigorous training in boot camp, no matter their walk of life prior to joining the military. As of 2020, roughly 80% of those who received their physical examinations were deemed fit to be an active duty service member. Korea's unique and challenging security environment makes conscription an essential part of its national defense strategy.
아시다시피 이제 6.25 전쟁이 종전이 아니고 이제 휴전 상태로, 즉 말하자면 남북 간의 대치 상태로 이제 끝났지 않습니까? 그러다 보니까 대치 이후에 남북 간의 긴장 관계, 그리고 현재 시점까지도 그게 계속 이루어져 있고, 잠재적인 이제 주변의 적들도 있죠. 그래서 이를 보호하기 위해서 아직 안타깝지만 상당 규모의 이제 병력이 좀 필요로 하고요. 더 안타까운 사실은 우리가 군에서 필요로 하는 병력 규모를 맞출 만큼 인구가 그렇게 많지가 않다라는 것이 더 문제인 거고요. 그래서 현재는 물론이고 당분간 향후에도 지속적으로 징병제라는 병역 의무 제도가 지속될 수밖에 없지 않을까 이렇게 생각을 합니다.
However, there are some people who either receive an exemption or serve in alternative role due to health reasons, depending on the result of their medical exam. Aside from that, there are also exemption schemes for outstanding individuals who have made individual contributions in service to the nation. And therein lies the crux of the issue on whether BTS has done enough to merit a full exemption from military service.
I've been keeping a closer eye on this BTS military exemption issues for 4 or 5 months, and looking at all the comments on Twitter, YouTube channel, and Facebook, I now get the feeling that this is not just a domestic issue. It's the issues that global fans are focusing on.
안녕하세요, 미스터 서울입니다. 그룹 방탄소년단의 입대를 두고
The growing interest among international fans has become palpable, according to this YouTuber Mr. Seoul, who had interviewed foreigners in the past.
I think because going to the army is something that Korean men have to do. I think that BTS shouldn't be an exception to that necessarily, but
we don't really exactly have a say, especially as international fans, but I would say that this could line up possibly with at least pushing back.
Why did you choose to interview foreigners and Koreans about this topic on your YouTube channel?
Back in the day when I was interviewing them, that's the time when all the news was talking about BTS as the oldest member, Jin, should go to military or not. And because it was such a hot issue in the media outside and inside Korea, and I had a lot of BTS fans in America, they always asked me about how do Korean people think about BTS going to army.
I think for us as an outsider, we don't understand why it's so important to conscribe in the military and why it's mandatory. If they do decide to pass something like this, my question is how could they make it fair so that nobody gets upset? How do you quantify someone's value if they can go or if they can get an exemption?
It got me thinking that this might be the best time for me to give a better explanation on what this military service means for ordinary citizens and why we are so sensitive about it.
Military service is an obligation that is taken very seriously in Korea. High-level public officials, their children, and also celebrities often come under great scrutiny when it comes to their service history or draft obligations. If you're a healthy, able-bodied South Korean adult, you're expected to answer the call of duty without any exceptions.
남성과 여성의 차이가 있을 것 같아요. 모든 국민한테는 모든 의무가 있지만 특히 남성의 경우에는 대한민국 남성이라면 약 2년 정도의 국방의 의무를 해야 되는데 저는 갔다 온 사람의 입장으로서는 당연히 해야 된다고 생각해요.
모두가 일단 남성은 거의 다 군대를 가거든요. 저희는 특별한 경우가 아니면 면제를 받기도 매우 힘들고 심장에도 문제가 오는 경우에서 심장을 수술했던 경우에도 공익으로 빠지거나 해서 어떻게든 군대를 복무해서 나라에 기여를 하고 있는데
그러면 이 한국에서 항상 이 군대 면제, 군대 이슈가 항상 왜 논란이 되고 있는지 좀 설명해 주실 수 있을까요?
아무래도 국방의 의무라는 게 있고 한국 남자라면 누구나 행해야 하는 의무이기 때문에 이 사람만 받는다 하는 형평성 논란이 있을 수 있기 때문에
상대적으로 나는 군대를 갔다 왔는데 왜 사람들이 군대를 안 가지라는 그런 상대적 박탈감 때문에 제일 크지 않을까 싶어요. 그런 좀 감정적인 문제도 있을 거고 그래서 좀 이런 문제는 어렵지 않나 생각이 듭니다.
But again, there are exceptions to the rule, namely those who receive a draft favor based on extraordinary merit.
These men are allowed to serve their country in a different capacity without putting on a uniform. This includes outstanding artists and athletes who are categorized as arts and sporting personnel. The criteria is diverse, but some examples include award-winning musicians at international competitions, all medalists at the Olympic Games, and those who have been named as an intangible cultural heritage. This scheme only requires those eligible to serve a designated number of hours in service to the community and is equivalent to a military service in actual practice. But the arts and sporting category has one notable omission, namely the pop culture sector, which means BTS currently has no avenues to receive an exemption from active duty unless there are revisions to the law.
대중예술이 옛날에는 순수예술과 다르다, 격이 떨어진다 했지만 지금은 사회적 기여도라든가 문화창달이라든가 국위선양이라든가 그런 점에 있어가지고 결코 대중예술이 순수예술에 비해서 떨어진다고 볼 수가 없죠. 오히려 국제화 시대에 대한민국을 알리는 데는 오히려 순수예술보다 대중예술이 그 영향력이 더 크다고도 어떤 의미에서는 그럴 수 있죠.
a bill that proposes alternative service for BTS and other outstanding K-pop artists is currently pending approval at the National Assembly. The proposed changes appear to have the backing of the general public, with a recent survey showing that roughly 60% of them are in favor of granting draft waivers to notable pop culture figures.
번역 근무를 굳이 하지 않아도 된다는 생각이거든요. 왜냐하면 국가대표 같은 경우에도 금메달을 받은 사람들한테 면제를 주기도 하고, 대표적으로 손흥민 선수 같은 경우에도 면제를 받았었잖아요. 그런 것과 비슷하게 법에서는 연예인이 포함되지 않긴 하지만 그것도 한번 고려를 해볼 만한 사안이 아닌가 싶어요. 왜냐하면 BTS로 인해서도 되게 대한민국에 대한 이미지도 널리 퍼지게 됐고, K-팝의 좀 확산에 많은 기여를 한 부분이 있잖아요. 그 부분에 대해서 어느 정도 인정을 해야 되는 게 아닌가.
저의 개인적인 의견으로는 병역 특례를 받아도 된다고 생각합니다. 왜냐하면 BTS가 국외에서 활동함으로써 얻어지는 경제적인 이득도 있고 우리들의 국제적인 위상도 높여주고 있기 때문에 그것들이 일반 국민들이 진행하는 병역 의무와 비슷하다고 생각을 해서 그래서 병역 특례를 받아도 된다고 생각합니다.
사실 저는 여자 입장에서 군대를 막 안 가는 입장이니까 말하기 조금 조심스럽긴 한데 그래도 BTS 같은 경우에는 국위 선양에 굉장히 많은 큰 공로를 세운 아이돌 그룹이다 보니까 저도 상관은 없지 않나라는 생각을 가지고 있습니다.
BTS has single-handedly put South Korea on the map, and their many achievements, including a string of #1 hits on the Billboard charts, a performance at the Grammy Awards, and their impressive trophy haul. These are remarkable feats for a Korean artist. But despite BTS's contributions in raising Korea's international profile, critics say that their pursuits are fundamentally driven by profits and that it will be unjust and unfair to provide them special treatment.
저는 솔직히 반대하는 입장인데요. 이제 음악이라는 부분이 아무래도 명확한 기준이 없기 때문에 분명 BTS가 국위 선양에 힘을 쓴 건 맞지만 이제 정확한 기준이 없기 때문에 면제를 해주면 나중에 추후에 다른 문제가 생길 수 있기 때문에 저는 일단 군면제를 반대하는 입장입니다.
한국은 아직 전쟁 국가이기도 하고 그러니까 대부분의 남자들은 군대를 가고 있잖아요. 저는 사실 이게 빌보드를 뭔가 기준으로 계속 논의가 나오고 있는 게 굳이 왜 미국의 차트에만 조금 집중을 하냐라는 거에 대해 약간 형평성의 문제가 있는 것 같다고 생각합니다.
BTS's fan club ARMY is a global community with more than 60 million followers on Instagram, which is more than Korea's entire population. Naturally, the question of BTS's military service has also been raised among the band's many international fans. It is a subject that has also come under a heavy spotlight among the foreign media.
21세기의 비틀즈다라고 평가를 받을 만큼 전 세계 젊은이들한테 엄청난 선한 영향력을 보여주고 있기 때문에 병역 문제가 큰 이슈가 되고 있다고 생각을 합니다. 아무래도 군대를 가게 되면 이제 제대로 활동을 하지 못하기 때문에 전 세계 팬들이 원하는 노래나 퍼포먼스, 콘서트를 할 수 없는 측면에서 전 세계적으로 한국의 병역 제도에 대해서 이제 관심이 많아졌다고 싶겠습니다.
BTS fans across the globe are on the edge of their seats, anxiously waiting to see how the situation will be resolved. BTS joining the military would surely mean a very long absence away from the stage, and we spoke to a pair of longtime BTS fans to hear what they had to say about these prospects.
I think ARMY is a very strong fan club, so of course they're always on the side of BTS, and I would imagine that from what I've seen, most people don't want them to go, they want them to stay, they want them to promote as all seven. If they go, they will definitely retain their fan base. What I worry about is more if they get an exemption and then people start pointing fingers at them as to why they don't deserve it. But I don't think they will lose any fans if they go to the military. Of course, you'd love to see the group as a whole, but this also gives people the chance to individually explore their talent. And we've seen it in their albums. They've had solo songs and they've done really well with those and the fans have really liked them. So I think if they time it well, we could get a little bit of each member and then you won't feel it by the time that they're all back.
we have like literally wide, diverse fandom and such, but I think there is one commonality that everyone tells us that we respect BTS and whatever decision that take, we trust them. During this COVID, this is like a big example. Like for the past 2 years, we were not able to see them in person and just interact and such. So we had a lot of issues going on, and as the whole situation was kind of bad for even artists to show their performances in front of fans. In such cases too, I think BTS were continually loved by fans all over the world, and I can say that during this period itself there were a lot of fans that they gained as well. So even if they endless in future or in those cases, so I think people would still show a lot of love and they will continue to receive a lot of love. So they'll gain more fans when they come back.
BTS's fate boils down to one of two paths, whether to join the military or hold out until they receive an exemption from active duty. What happens then if they answer their draft call? BTS members, for their part, have previously expressed their intent to join the military if their names are called.
나라의 부름이 있으면 언제든지 응하겠습니다. 시기가 된다면 부름이 있으면 언제나 응할 예정이고.
The one positive aspect of BTS joining the military is that by doing that, they would completely eliminate any room for future controversy in this regard.
방탄소년단도 그렇고 이제 팬들 대부분이 병역 면제를 해달라 이렇게 요구하고 있지는 않습니다. 특히 한국의 대중문화 흐름은 지금 예전에 유승준 씨 사례도 있었지만 병역 기피하는 사례가 너무 많아서 오히려 병역 기피를 하지 않거나 면제를 받지 않고 당당하게 군 복무를 하는 엔터테이너나 아티스트들이 훨씬 더 높은 평가를 받고 또 제대 이후에도 더 오히려 이제 브랜드 가치라든지 또 평판이 높아져서 잘된 경우가 굉장히 많습니다.
But losing BTS even temporarily is expected to have a devastating financial impact for their parent company, Hybe Entertainment. Hybe Entertainment is valued at 12 trillion won, or roughly $9.5 billion on the Korean stock market, also becoming the first K-pop talent agency to record over 1 trillion won in annual revenues. Hybe Entertainment's revenues are expected to top 2 trillion won this year, but with BTS accounting for more than 2/3 of its total revenues, its balance sheets are expected to come under huge pressure in 2023, when BTS is due to join the military. With Hybe Entertainment also being a giant presence on the Korean stock market, the BTS risk may not only affect their company share prices, but depress the entire market as a whole. But could BTS find a way to receive a draft waiver before their deferment period winds down in 2023? We spoke to legal expert to find out if this is possible under Korea's current legislative.
결론적으로 얘기했을 때에 신체 건강한 대한민국 청년으로서 지금 병역법에 정한 이 등급에서 현역이 나온다고 하면은 BTS의 할아버지라 한다 하더라도 지금은 현역으로 군대를 입영할 수밖에 없습니다. 지금 BTS처럼 대중예술 같은 경우에는 현행 병역법상의 예체능 요원 자체에서 완전히 배제되어 있습니다. 그러다 보니까 BTS가 그래미상을 10번 수상하건 아니면은 빌보드 차트에 100번 올라가든 현재로서는 법적 제도적 장치로는 군대를 갈 수밖에 없는 그런 상황입니다.
The National Assembly has been deliberating over the last 4 years on the issue of providing draft exemptions to active service. Some lawmakers had raised the question on why an international competition award was good enough to earn an exemption from the active duty, but not a #1 track on the Billboard charts.
BTS가 미국에 있는 빌보드의 핫백 차트에 몇 곡이 올라가고 또 이런저런 또 경제적 기여라든가 아니면은 대한 아미를 비롯해서 한글이 전 세계적으로 널리 퍼지는데 엄청난 기여를 하고 있지 않습니까? 한글과 한국어가 그런 어떤 문화 창달 이런 부분에서 만약에 이 법이 통과된다고 하면은 BTS 정도면은 그 기준을 아마 충족하지 않을까 싶은데요. 그렇게 된다고 하면은 결국 이 법이 개정되고 그 개정 기준에 맞게 된다고 하면은 BTS는 말씀드렸듯이 예천계 요원으로서 보충역의 혜택을 받을 수 있는 것은 사실이죠.
If BTS earn exemption from the active duty, they would be allowed to release new albums and hold concert tours without needing to go on an extended hiatus. But questions surrounding fairness and whether the waivers was deserved could hound them throughout their careers, long into the future. Some might criticize them for neglecting a constitutional duty for the pursuit of what is ultimately a profit-generating venture. It could also start a chain reaction of people in other walks of life who may also feel that they have sufficient merit to deserve an exemption of their own.
현재 그런 틀이 계속 유지되는 가운데 BTS가 아니거나 아니면 대중문화 예술 분야가 아닌 다른 분야에서 우리가 세계적인 명성을 쌓는 그런 일이 발생을 한다고 그런다면은 우리 사회는 또다시 그분들에 관련된 포함 여부가 가지고서 병역 문제 논란을 다시 논의를 해야 되는 그런 반복적인 상황이 지속될 거라고 보여집니다.
물론 이제 그 투어 같은 경우 약간 뭐 완전체는 아닐 수 있지만 분명히 저는 수행할 수 있다고 보고요. 그런 식으로 어떤 이제 전략을 충분히 짤 수가 있다고 저는 생각을 해요. 예. 그렇게 해서 다시 또 이렇게 뭐 지금 18개월로 됐으니까 18개월을 일종의 이제 잘 매니지먼트를 하는 거죠. 그런 식으로 아마 운영 전략을 짜고 있을 거라고 저는 생각을 하고, 예전에는 미디어에서 사라지면은, 그러니까 군대 가면 그냥 미디어에서 사라졌는데 지금 각종 미디어 매체가 있기 때문에 완전히 사라지지는 않습니다. 다만 뭐 연기를 한다든지 아니면 군대를 갔다 하더라도 이제 활동을 할 수 있도록 뭔가 배려가 필요한 점이 있다고 그러면 훨씬 더 방탄소년단뿐만이 아니고 팬들 그리고 전 세계 음악 애호가들한테도 도움이 될 거라고 생각합니다.
BTS soaring popularity will naturally be followed by greater scrutiny. But the issues surrounding their military service obligations may not be a nut that can be so easily cracked without external guidance. Korea's draft waiver for individuals who make outstanding contributions to national interest has a muddled criteria and was first introduced in the 1970s when Korea was still in the early stages of economic growth. It might have made sense back then, given the country's cultural environment and economic conditions at the time, when any individual's achievement on a global scale was rare and noticeable. But today's modern Korea has given birth to thousands of talented young men in the fields of economy, IT, pop cultures, and others, who are making individual contributions to Korea's standing in the world.
For a younger generation like me, 2022 in South Korea, it is the year of fairness. There's a view that even BTS and their fans' army wouldn't be comfortable with a special privilege given to them without a clear debate taking place to validate such a decision.
At a time when fairness was become the new buzzword, many people are questioning why Olympic medalists don't have to serve in the military when artists who win at the American Music Awards do. Others have gone further by asking if military service is only reserved for people who aren't special in any way.
In the end, fairness is on top of everyone's mind when it comes to military exemptions. Having a chance to hit the street and hear from young generation, I could feel that they might have the sense of deprivation depending on how the system is applied to BTS and other artists.
Any discussion on this must start with a look at the broader issue of modernizing Korea's military, the country's draft law in general, and improving the welfare of conscripted service members. Without a wide-ranging approach to this issue, the decade-long controversy over Korea's military exemption law may continue to drag on for many more years.